We're bringing you the latest Golden State Warriors news and rumors here on Warriors Today by Chat Sports. Chase Sr. here with you. Hope all of Dub Nation has been having a fantastic week. And I understand that at this point in the offseason, things are moving a little bit slowly. It's a little bit sluggish on those NBA streets. But at the end of this month, NBA training camp gets underway. That's really when we'll start to begin ramping up our coverage. And it's the reigning NBA champions that we're talking about here, folks. So if you want the best, most interactive, most informative Warriors news, rumors, and analysis, lock us in and make sure you subscribe to the channel. The point of today's show, pretty interesting stuff going down in the Bay Area with the defending NBA champions because according to The Athletic, Shams Charania as well as Anthony Slater, Warriors bringing in several veterans for workouts all throughout this week. Now, as of right now, operating under the premise that Andre Iguodala is not going to be a part of this basketball team if he doesn't return yet again in what is going to be a Hall of Fame career for him, Warriors do have two vacant roster spots opened up, the 14th and 15th spots on this roster. So that's why Golden State is working out a couple of players this week. And all of the players that they're working out, pretty notable names and all former first-round picks. So we'll take you through the list here. This list includes Ben McLemore, who was the 7th overall pick back in the 2013 NBA draft out of Kansas. I'll explain my thoughts on all of these players individually coming up here throughout the show. Elfrid Payton, a former lottery pick, picked 10th overall back a couple years ago. Rondae Hollis-Jefferson was the 23rd overall selection out of Arizona back in 2015. He played internationally this past year. Kenneth Faried, another former first-round pick in the NBA draft, who actually had some pretty impressive years for the Denver Nuggets. He was an NCAA tournament legend coming out of Morehead State. They went on a nice little run there several years ago, and he was a part of that. And really started to turn some heads with his athleticism, rim running, rebounding the basketball, throwing down some alley-oops. From 2011 to 2017, Faried averaged a tick under 12 points per game, 8.5 rebounds, nearly a block and a steal per night as well. Last year, he played in the G League. By the way, Elfrid Payton did play in the league last year as well. Phoenix Suns, I believe, right? He was the backup point guard there, more of a third stringer. So he wasn't really playing much, but all of these names, interesting because they could be some depth pieces for a team that's trying to run it back once again and make another run at an NBA championship. So before we continue to dive further into what these players might bring to the floor for the Warriors, among all these players, drop me a name down in the comment section. Who would you want the Warriors to sign if you could pick only one? Now, all of these different players bring something different to the table. For Ben McLemore, he can shoot the three a little bit, never really going to light the league on fire from distance, never really has been an upper 30 percentile type of guy, but 34, 35%. He can give the Warriors some athleticism on the open floor, also a pretty solid defender as well. He has never lived up to the expectations of being that lottery pick several years ago when out of Kansas. He was looked at as a pretty solid prospect, but he's had some pretty solid moments throughout his NBA career. Definitely better playing under Bill Self at Kansas in the collegiate ranks, but a back-end bench of the type who doesn't play every single night and maybe in a pinch gives you 5, 10, maybe 15 minutes per night, you could certainly do worse. As for Elfrid Payton, I liked him coming out of college, a solid distributing point guard who's a quality backup. He is not a starter in this league, but for a guy who can maybe set up the offense a little bit, that is his forte. That is his strength. Not shooting. He's not an offensive juggernaut by any means. You can't expect or rely on him to really create for himself in terms of getting his shot. Really good vision, though. Very crafty with the basketball. Has that little herky-jerky movement. Pretty good athlete. So as a third-string point guard like he was last year for the Phoenix Suns, yeah, he's a solid piece there. As for Rondae Hollis-Jefferson, kind of been phased out of the NBA a little bit, but coming out of Arizona, he was a first-round pick and probably came out a little bit too early, a little bit too raw, but he was selected based on his athleticism. He's active. He could play defense, has a lot of length, but he can't shoot a lick. Last year played in, I believe, Germany. and was phased out of the league because he was never able to develop a jump shot. So that somewhat of a concern. But if the Warriors want at length, if they want athleticism, if they want a good defensive player who could be there on the offensive end for putbacks and alley-oop slams, that's what Rondae Hollis-Jefferson could bring to the table. Shout out to Chester, Pennsylvania, right outside of Philly. That's where he grew up, not far from me. Kenneth Faried, he's a has-been, in my opinion. And among these players, probably the guy in his early 30s who the Warriors wouldn't bring in and a player who I wouldn't want them to bring in. Now, if they do want a big who can jump, who can rim run, who can rebound a little bit and block some shots, he could be that guy. But there's a reason why last year he was playing in the G League, because he, like Rondae Hollis-Jefferson, never really evolved his game. He was one of those old school athletic bigs who came into the league without a jump shot, and that was never his strength, shooting the basketball. That also not something that he is going to bring this lineup. And the Warriors did do something similar last year, if you remember, with a couple of open and vacant roster spots. They had Avery Bradley with the Dubs in training camp before he was a surprise cut. Langston Galloway was also participating in the preseason as well. Now, both didn't make the team, but both were quality vets. And these guys who we're talking about, quality, capable vets who can at least be a competitive body throughout training camp to give you that level of competition when you need it the most to get ramped up for the season. More Warriors news that we do want to get to before we get out of here. Recently, the reigning NBA champs working out former lottery pick Shabazz Muhammad, who played several years in the league. He's probably washed. Veteran Solomon Hill, who played in the league for a long time, nearly a decade. Tyler Cook, and then Keelan Martin. And really what this comes down to is the decision of Andre Iguodala. If Iggy comes back, he'll be the 14th man, and the Warriors will still have one roster spot. If Andre Iguodala decides to, walk into the sunset, call it a career, and further go into and dive into his business endeavors because he's very into tech and he decides to retire, then the Warriors will have two roster spots to fulfill. Whatever happens, whether it's one signing, two signings, we always have you covered here on Golden State Warriors Today by Chat Sports. Free agency and the draft period, absolutely crazy for this channel. We entered the offseason 30,000 subs, 15,000 subs picked up over the span of a couple of months, and you can count on us for interactive, informative, and just entertaining, outright fantastic Warriors coverage. So make sure you subscribe to the channel, hit that red subscribe button down below, and if you made it this far in the video, real one, roll call. Type real one in the comment section. We appreciate you.